In a previous video we built this ISA backplane for our Amstrad PPC640, and this gives us 3 ISA slots for expanding this machine. Now the first thing that I want to do with this is to add some kind of storage, whether it's a hard drive or a SD card or a compact flash card, and today that is what we are going to do. For that purpose I have got this. This is a XT-CF-Lite, and basically it is an XT-IDE implementation that specifically targets a compact flash card, and it will read compact flash cards, and this will form our hard drive. We've done something similar in the past with an Amiga 600 and an Amiga 1200. So let's build it. Just as an aside, I really like these plastic food storage containers for project storage boxes. This one's about 1.5 litres, just the job for this kind of project. So, XT-CF-Lite. I bought the PCB off eBay. It's nicely produced in purple and gold. On the back it lists all of the dip switch positions for the various I/O port and BIOS address settings. We'll get into that later. There is a wiki for the project, and I'll give the address to that in the description. It's got all the assembly tips and firmware and dip switch settings again, and address settings, boot up procedures, troubleshooting, and so on. Check it out. This is an 8-bit ISA card, and it slots into our 8-bit ISA card cage. Just checking. Of course, ISA stands for Industry Standard Architecture, not International, as I said last time. Thanks to a commenter for pointing that out. The first component we're going to fit is the CF card holder. This is the only surface mount item on the board, and the pins are very closely spaced. That's a bugger, because that needs to be a longer arm to solder to those pads. But I think I can put some screws through there and hold it on that way. Okay, what I'm going to do is tin the pins and clean them off with some flux so that it's smooth, so they're just tinned, and then we can solder to that. The holder has pins that slot into the board, so we can just hold it in place, and a very light touch with the soldering iron should be all that we need. With some more flux, of course. Quick inspection and job done. I'd like to thank PCBWay for sponsoring this video. We've made many circuit boards from PCBWay on this channel over the past few years, starting with the ISO backplane that we are working with today, and also the RGB to HDMI controller that drives the color screen that we put into this machine. Both of these boards were based on third-party designs that we downloaded the Gerber files for and uploaded them to PCBWay, chose our color, yellow of course, and then got the boards made, and they were delivered back within a week or so. You can design your own boards though, and this is an example of one that I have designed myself. We have not yet seen it on the channel, but we will do in due course. The principle is exactly the same. You design the board, you lay it out, you export the Gerber files and you upload them to PCBWay, and off you go. PCBs are not the only string to PCBWay's bow, however. They also do 3D printing, CNC machining, sheet metal work, all sorts of stuff. They have a maker store, they have shared projects, they do advanced PCBs, you name it. If it's to do with a printed circuit board, they do it. Check them out, www.pcbway.com. And now, so here we've got the through-hole components laid out. Dip switches, ICs, resistors, capacitors and so on. I've placed them roughly where they're going to go on the board. We'll start with the lowest components as usual, i.e. the resistors, and work our way up. Sockets or caps. With these low profile decoupling capacitors there's very little in it. So we're going to dry fit one of each, and caps it is. You don't have to fit stuff in this order, this is just my preferred method. And while it does make it harder to see, I like to hold the tops of the leads when I cut them off. That way they don't fly everywhere. Now the sockets. The two missing sockets are actually the dip switches. Hold them down with tape while we solder the corners. Once we've checked them for level and adjusted, we can solder the remaining pins. Let's fit the activity LED. These are polarized, and with the smaller ones it can be hard to see the flat on the case, so we're going to have to rely on the longer lead being positive. Resistor networks are also polarized. Here we need to line up the dot on the resistor pack with the square on the silk screen. And as with the sockets, we tack the ends and adjust. The two electrolytic caps have a big white band on them, indicating negative. The PCB is marked on the silkscreen, positive in this case. And so the final components to solder are the dip switches. With the ICs fitted, the board is finished, except for the EEPROM, which must be programmed, and we do that over there. The software we need for the EEPROM is the XT-IDE Universal BIOS. The link for this page is in the description, xtidebios.org. There's a lot of information here, and I do recommend that you read through it. We can download the latest pre-built binary by following this link, and this one to the current version. For our particular system, XT-CF-Lite running on a V30 system, we need IDE_xtp.bin. We'll also download the XT-IDECFG program. This will let us configure the BIOS parameters. Our device is an AT28C64B, which is an 8K x 8 EEPROM. Let's load the firmware that we downloaded earlier. Check it through, it seems to be correct. And click Program. Job done. And in it goes. So I thought maybe this could be a thumbnail. It's going to be hard to see once it's plugged into the back of the PC. It's all plugged in, so let's switch it on. Well, I guess it still boots, so that's something. No sign that it's recognised the card though. So it seems appropriate to flip some dip switches. Now it will soon be apparent that I don't entirely know what I'm doing, and so I won't beat about the bush. Bank 1 sets the I/O address for the card. 1-4 is not connected, so yeah. 2-1 enables the BIOS ROM, so I think we need that set. The rest of Bank 2 is the BIOS ROM address. It can be anything so long as there isn't a conflict. Again, I set switch 8, which isn't connected. So, semi-random switches set. Let's see what happens. No change. So now I've got Bank 1 switches 1 to 3 on. That corresponds to address 300 hex. Also, switch 2-2 is on. This will allow XT-IDE config to update the EEPROM. Looking on our B drive, I've copied over the 2 files that we downloaded earlier. Let's run XT-IDE-CFG. Load the BIOS image. We could also copy it from the EEPROM since we did program it. Now we need to configure it. Primary IDE controller. Device type is XT-CF_PIO8. Base address. This has to match the values set on bank 1's dip switches, or it won't work. Now that was 300 hex. And now we can flash the EEPROM. Job done. Now when we boot the PC, we get the BIOS load screen. Progress! But I guess we need to partition the CF card. For that we need to run fdisk, and for that we need to boot from the floppy. So press A when the BIOS screen comes up. We'll just create a primary DOS partition of the maximum size. That's going to be 32 megabytes under DOS 3.3. Now we can format the drive and install DOS to it. It's pretty quick. So let's copy our floppy across. So here goes the moment of truth. Let's see if it'll boot from our C drive. Well, it's hung. That's disappointing. Booting from the A drive again. At least we can see the C drive, which is encouraging. Let's try listing the directory. That looks all sorts of corrupted. It's a few days later and I've finally managed to get it working off camera. You'll notice that there's a different CF card. It's booted and yes, it is that fast. So let's get a directory listing. And there we have it, no corruption. Once again, real time from power up, no cuts, no edits. "22 seconds. And so we've gone from this to this. Now this has given us a 4 GB flash card on this IDE bus. At the moment we can only use 32 megabytes of it because we are running DOS 3.3 and that will only see 32 megabytes on any drive. So for the future I'm going to put a later version of DOS onto this, and it's going to be probably DOS 5 because that comes in 720k floppies, and that's going to give us up to 2 GB partitions, so that should easily fit on this. Now our original 2 gig flash card, for some reason our original 2 GB disk didn't work, and the FAQ suggests that maybe it was incompatible with being an 8-bit device. Possibly. This one does seem to be okay though, even though it is from the same stable. For the future I'm going to put DOS 5 on here, and we're going to start putting some software on and some games and some apps and some various other things, but that is for the future. Meantime, thank you for watching so far. Please check out my Patreon if you are that way inclined. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. See ya. Bye.